There's we're going to face so many adversities in life. By the way, I don't plan these classes. It's just whatever the next scripture is. We just do like this. Not like I thought, okay, tomorrow we're going to talk about adversity. So whatever I just looked at the verse and it was how Emperor Parikshit dealt with adversity. So I thought, all right, we'll call it Facing Adversity on YouTube. So anyhow, we're always suffering from all kinds of adversities in this material world. Why? Because we have all kinds of material desires and we have a lack of faith in God. And instead of accepting what God has presented via our life, we are always trying to change and enforce our will over what God has arranged, instead of just peacefully accepting the situation. But we don't know this, and then so we suffer. But one who wants a relief from suffering, they can find relief in Krishna. So 4 types in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, approach him. This is God is saying that the suffering, the distressed person approaches him. The someone who's in need, I don't know, you can't provide for your family, you can't provide for yourself, you can't provide this, that, and the other thing for your parents, your brothers, and so on. So that person approaches Krishna. Next, the curious person approaches Krishna. Well, what is, maybe they're looking, what's a deeper meaning of life? Maybe they're looking for someone else. And then he says, the best person who approaches Krishna. Do you know who he says? Who's the best person? And it's actually an evolution. They're each an evolution. Everyone starts out suffering, but then the reality is that, okay, I'm suffering, but I do need something, so please help me. And then eventually when you realize that, oh wow, this is the divinity, this divine connection is working. It's my needs are being covered. All right, I want to know more. And then that last person who's the best, what are they? Yes, but what is it? What are they called? A jnani, one in knowledge. So one who's sufficiently enlightened, then they're always approaching Krishna. They always want to know more about the supreme absolute truth, and they'll less and less want to know about all of their all the material happenings of the world. So we're encouraging you all at least to rise to that platform, to seek higher knowledge. Because if you don't, I mean, everyone can just sit and suffer in the world, but it's not ideal. Why should we suffer if we don't have to? So this is our process. We approach Krishna, and in knowledge, and when we realize the reality of the situation, we realize that everything that we thought was a snake in life is really just a mere rope, and it's not a danger at all. But we get so caught up, oh my God, you guys have visa situations, you guys have government situations, I have financial situations and things, but actually there's no real problem here. The real problem is just our perception of it. But if we have an enlightened perspective through the wisdom that Krishna is giving, everything is perfect actually. And we can be completely blissful and happy always. But because the faculty of ignorance, or illusion, still impacting our mind and still impacting our very being, we suffer and we make snakes out of ropes when it's really just a rope lying there on the ground. We go, oh, look at this snake, it's coming from this angle and this thing. So anyhow, but by hearing the messages of Krishna, all the troubles that are in the heart due to the perception of snakes get relieved, and you realize, no, don't worry. This world is just, all these things are just but a mere rope. They're nothing to worry about. And what will happen? You'll realize God's protection all throughout, and you'll realize God's making everything perfect all throughout. And what ends up happening is that you develop love for that being, and you realize that, oh, everything's always been okay, and it's always going to be okay. So, but unless we take some time to approach God via hearing His messages, it should be done daily, actually. It should be done very frequently, as much as possible. And then God will relieve us of our miseries, and He will give us love instead. But we're all looking for love. Everyone's looking for love. Everyone's working so hard for love. They're working so hard. They want to make their family happy, their wife happy, because they're trying to exchange love. But we're looking for love in all the wrong places. The ultimate reservoir of love is God. He is the originator of love. So anyway, bhakti is that love, and Krishna recommends the highest truth, the highest knowledge is to seek Him in bhakti, or in love. So this is how you do it. And one of the aspects of bhakti, one of the best things you can do is to chant the names of God, to call out to God with love. That's what we're doing when we're chanting. That's what we're supposed to be doing. A lot of times our mind is wandering everywhere, like Hare Krishna, but in the mind it's just like, I wonder what I'm going to do later. I'm going to do this. But actually, like, bhakti is like in love, calling. Like, Krishna, I'm calling out to you. Usually it's in the beginning, it's in distress, calling out to Krishna. Krishna, please help me, But ultimately, bhakti is calling out to Krishna in love. Worshipping Krishna, we do different forms of worshipping God. There's different activities that we do, like in the morning we do our artis and so on. And then finally, Koro Krishna Shiksha. Try to understand Krishna's instruction. What does God want from us? Why are we here? What's the purpose of life? What's God's purpose for my existence? What's God's purpose for everyone's existence, for this whole thing? And if we don't take the time to do any of these three things, we will inevitably be lost, and we'll suffer and continue suffering. And we've already been suffering. We've already felt lost in this life. We can, all of your professors also feel lost. Everybody is suffering. Nobody has an answer for the meaning of life. No one has solved the problems of birth, death, disease, and old age, except God, or except the saints who have realized the peace and reality of God. And so on. And many religions they've done, like Jesus Christ, for instance, when they were persecuting him, nailing him to a cross, he was asking God to forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Practically he's saying, these are fools. They don't know anything. Like, don't, please forgive them. Don't keep them suffering. He had compassion rather than sitting there, why is my hand have a hole in it? He's on a cross. It's a horrible, horrible thing. The Romans were pretty brutal. But anyhow, so anyway, I just want to kind of set the intention why we're doing what we're doing. If that's not there, then this doesn't have any value for me. Better I just go off to work. I can get a head start on the day. But actually this has so much value, because by taking the time to contemplate life, instead of do so many things that may not have a deep impact on your ability to be happy in this world, you can take some time to calibrate. You do robotics, so probably all kinds of calibration has to be there. You have to, set the robot up so that it can function properly. But if it doesn't get the proper calibration, then it'll just malfunction. So this process of approaching higher wisdom is our calibration. We're calibrating ourselves. We're setting ourselves up and winding ourselves up so that we can perform our function and our task nicely, and we can get a good result, rather than run out the door uncalibrated and then all of a sudden everything's a disaster throughout the day. Does this make sense? He's a robotics expert, so he understands calibration. So this is very good. So this is our calibration process. Okay. Let us chant our Mangala Charana, which is our prayers, and we're going to seek the blessings and wisdom of all the previous empowered acharyas and personalities, who the Lord has empowered to literally feed us this knowledge. So these are some prayers. Oh, you probably want to see on the screen. Madhav, maybe you can share it with the Zoom people as well if they would like to chant. Madhav was telling me that he learned how to chant these prayers by watching on YouTube and seeing it on the screen when I would share it. And then I stopped doing that, and he got kind of upset with me.
No, I just told you that's how I learned.
Yeah, so now he should share it with everyone.
Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayan Dadati Svavedantikam Padeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupa Sagadatan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Satya Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Vasundevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srinivadi Pasutade Shitarine.
All right. So, where are we in the Srimad Bhagavatam? If we remember now, the demigods of the earth, the demigoddess of the earth, Bhumi, and the demigod of Dharma, Yamaraj, they were took the form of cows, and then you could say the Asura, or the demon, the great demon of Kali, who presides over the age, the personality that is corrupting our age. He was abusing the religious principles. This all has a figurative meaning. You could understand this literally as well. But as these personalities actually going through, anytime an energetic turbulence is happening, we might see it from the whirl of energy. Just like if two people are fighting, and they're smashing, like Parth takes you and he throws you through a desk, and then everything, if there are these little ants on the ground, they're just seeing like this big whirlwind of weather and desks are flying everywhere. They don't know what's happening. So when everything's happening, whirlwinds of energy are happening around us, we just think, oh my God, a hurricane, this, that, and the other. But there's actually interactions happening from higher personalities that we don't understand. So this is like that. These the personality of earth and the personality of Dharma are being harassed by Kali, the personality of quarrel and hypocrisy in this age. So Maharaj Parikshit, who was the great grandson, or he was the grandson of Arjuna and the Pandavas, he was touring the world, and he saw this sight. And he decided he would step up to defend Dharma, and he would defend Mother Earth. And so he went to go before Kali, ready to kill him. But Kali was realizing the great power of the empowered devotee, Maharaj Parikshit. And he was very wise. He stopped his harassment of them, and then he surrendered before him, and he begged for his mercy. So then Maharaj Parikshit, he gave Kali, and Kali, he said, please find a place for me. In your kingdom, your rule, the way you rule the world, I am the personality of quarrel, hypocrisy. I'm paraphrasing his thoughts. But he's saying, please find a place for me. So Maharaj Parikshit said, fine. You have 4 places that you can reside in. That which there's a lack of mercy. So meaning where there is unnecessary killing. So the prime one happening here is animal slaughter. Wherever there's animal slaughter, the killing of animals unnecessarily, a lack of mercy is being shown, you can have that place. And then he said, then you can go to a place where there's no discipline, there's a lack of austerity. And in that place, people get intoxicated. People have no, greater sobriety, focus in life, so they'd rather escape that through intoxication. In that place you can reside. And then he says, next, you can also have the place where there's a lack of cleanliness. We have, there's external cleanliness and then there's internal cleanliness. Internal cleanliness is where we're very much focused on wholesome spiritual things. But the internal uncleanliness is when we want to exploit other living entities. And the ultimate exploitation, the ultimate pleasure that we can try to exploit out of other living entities is ultimately sex life. Man tries to exploit woman, woman tries to exploit the man. So, he says wherever there is illicit sexual activity, practically sex outside of marriage, and even more so, sex should be done for children. Sex should be done to bring goodness to the world in the form of godly children. So he said, wherever that can be done, you can have that place. So think like a strip club, a brothel, all these horrible places. Even on people do all kinds of things now, hotels and the bars, and they bring the ladies back. And then he says the last place you can have are places. Are places of dishonesty. So the places that have dishonesty are where people cheat others. So you can think of like the stock market, Wall Street, all of these big business enterprises and gambling enterprises where the whole goal is to cheat others. Here places of gambling are the most rampant. So Kali, he protested. He said, that's fine. I belong in these places. Paraphrasing. But he said, give me a place where there is, in your kingdom, nobody does these activities. The way you rule this kingdom, everything, all these activities are seen as degraded and no one does these activities. I have no place here. Give me one place. And he says, fine. The last place you can have is wherever there is gold, you can reside there, because wherever there is gold, there will be falsehood, envy, enmity, and jealousy, and all these things will come. And so, that is why the chief anartha, the chief thing that's creating an obstacle for why we actually pursue God or pursue our best interest is the chase for wealth. That's what most of you guys are doing all day, right? Chasing wealth in some way or another. It's trying to secure wealth. Even myself, I ran into financial trouble this year out of foolishness and greed, chasing wealth myself. So the biggest obstacles, and who knows what you're also, but the chase for wealth is the biggest obstacle. Oh, Craig, Hare Krishna. I was just summarizing to this point, waiting for you. So the chase for wealth was the place where Kali finally had his spot. And that's how he actually grew and had a place in this. And now everybody is chasing wealth. And they spend much of their time. It used to be you work 6 hours a day. In ancient times, you would work 6 hours a day. And actually, still, those who are sober in mind, that's about what a good program they'll do. But now people are working 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Why? Because they've become mad. They've become mad, and with greed and lust, and ultimately, and also the demands of other people who are mad. So you might tell your boss, I only would like to work 6 hours a day. But because he's mad for working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, he'll be say, I'll find somebody who'll work 8, 10, 12 hours. So now you're almost forced to work like this in this age. So, but what do we do about this? We have to try to, whatever time we do get by Krishna's arrangement, we have to use for his pleasure, use for his purpose. As we surrender unto him, he rewards us accordingly, and he will slowly improve our situations in life. The more we actually want to come to him, he'll actually improve the situations. So now Kali has, he's going to be the personality that's to degrade this age. Krishna has arranged, the demons also have a purpose, and Krishna has, just like the winter has a purpose. It's snowing right now. It's meant to kill everything and reset everything so that a new spring can come. So this degraded age where people's good qualities are degrading, it's meant to reset the society so that a new enlightened society can arise from it. It's supposed to drive everything down to hell and burn it to the ground so that something new, like a phoenix, can rise from the ashes of the old. This is like kind of I don't know what culture had the, maybe it's Greek, the symbology of a phoenix arising anew from the ashes of the old.
Sometimes they actually burn forests and stuff on purpose, and it creates a whole growth.
That's right. That's very true. Even Krishna himself, there's pastimes where there were certain forests where wicked personalities were, and Agni wanted to burn the forest, and so Krishna and Arjuna, in the pastime of burning this forest. That's how Arjuna got his, I think, Gandiva bow. So anyhow. But let's read some Bhagavatam, because we have a rare opportunity. We have 4 people here sitting, and Sampat's our special guest today. And my goal, we have him on program for every other day. He'll sit and listen to Harikatha. But now my goal today is to help inspire, so that he's like, wow, I should do this every day, and he'll see the benefit. So we'll see if it works. So anyhow. Utsrijya sarvata sangam Vigyata jita sangstiti Vayasake jaho shishyo Gangayang svankalevaram Utsrijya, after leaving aside, sarvata, all around, sangam, association, vigyata, being understood, ajita, one who is never conquered, the personality of Godhead, sangstati, actual position, vayasake, unto the son of Vyas, jaho, gave up, shishya, as a disciple, gangayam, on the bank of the Ganges, swam, his own, kalevaram, material body. So, the last one was Maharaj Parikshit, was always consciously surrendered to the personality of Godhead, and therefore he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by fear due to a snake bird, which was to bite him because of the fury of a Brahmin boy. I actually was talking about to Sampad about this yesterday. In Vedic culture, you would never want to insult a Brahmin, because Brahmins of old, they were known, even Brahmins now, a pure personality Brahmin, there's potency to their words, there's potency, and if you offend, like say a great spiritual personality, a great saintly personality, you'll bring ruin upon your life, actually. So the wise, they always try to please saintly personalities. That's what the wise do, because they know that will bring them good fortune. But the foolish, they'll let themselves offend, they'll offend elevated spiritual personalities, and they will have bad reactions. So Maharaj Parikshit, he got caught in a quarrel because he actually had gold on his crown. So Kali was able to sneak in, and he actually, Shamika Rishi, the name of our guru, he was meditating, and Maharaj Parikshit was hunting in the forest, and he was very thirsty. And when he went to visit Shamika Rishi, hoping that he could get some drink, Shamika Rishi was so engaged in meditation that he didn't see Maharaj Parikshit, because he was oblivious in meditation. So Maharaj Parikshit thought that this sage was ignoring him, and that he considered him worthless, and that he, instead of helping him, he just would just ignore him until he goes away. So Maharaj Parikshit found a dead snake on the ground, and he garlanded him with the dead snake. And so what ended up happening is that Shamika Rishi, he came out of his meditation, and he sees the dead snake. He's like, what the heck's this? And just put it aside and went back to meditating. But Shringi, his son, who was only a small boy, but he was so offended by seeing his father in that condition with a dead snake, he felt so offended that he cursed Maharaj Parikshit. He was a great sage's son, so he had power. But he himself got overwhelmed by Kali, and he cursed Maharaj Parikshit. But Maharaj Parikshit, he actually felt very guilty for what he did, and he thought about the situation. He realized, I think I made a mistake. I don't think that sage recognized me. I'm paraphrasing. And ultimately, he's like, you know what, Lord, if you have a punishment punishment for me. Let it be so. Let me take this punishment. Everything in our life that's happening is it's a reaction due to something we've done already. The things that we've done, our whole life is reactions to how we've approached life up until this point. And not just this life, many lifetimes we've been trying to do things, and we do so many activities, and in our activities they all will bear fruit eventually. And our life is now the current fruit of whatever we've done in the past previously. Yeah. So you have to accept. But the wise, once they accept, Krishna says, Lord Brahma actually says to Krishna in the 10th canto, he says, Tatenu kampam susamikshimano, one who's eagerly seeking the compassion of the Supreme Lord, Bunjana evatma kritam vipakam, all the while experiencing the results of his past actions and reactions, his past misdeeds. Hridvagva prabir vidadan namaste, with his heart, with his words, and with his body, makes an offering unto you, Lord. Jiveta yomukti pade sadayabak. He can live expecting your merciful feet, at your merciful feet, that you will deliver him. So this is what the wise do. So Lord Brahma praises that he actually made a mistake with Krishna at one point. There's a pastime, but he praised this verse, and it's supposed to show us what we can do. How can we deal with our problems that we've created in this life? With heart, with words, and with body, make an offering unto the Lord. So this is our right now. We're with the heart. We're just opening the ears to hear. Let me see if I can. Heart is one's consciousness. If you just put your consciousness, let me come and hear about Krishna for some time. If you do that every day, Krishna will be so pleased, and he'll give you that mercy that we're all looking for in this life. So Maharaj Parikshit, when he got cursed, instead of being retaliatory, this is unfair, I didn't deserve to die over this, he accepted. All right, Krishna has some plan. I deserve this. I made a sin. I accept it. And what ended up happening is that for 7 days he sat down and this Bhagavatam was given. And we're all going to learn about this Bhagavatam from hearing it. And he not only did he get delivered, but he willingly gave up his body. And when the snake, the Brahmin's curse took effect, and the snake bird came to bite him and immolate him in fire, which is one of the symptoms of this Takshaka bird, snake bird. It's like a mystical being. He actually already left his body and rejoined the Supreme Lord. So this is and he was in bliss actually. But so every time there's some difficulty, the way we face adversity is we trust the Lord has a plan here. The Lord is not, he's not conspiring against me. He's not here to hurt me. He's helping me. He wants to just help me. And yes, sometimes that help is a little tough. Like if a child he's running into the road, and the road is a very dangerous place for the child. And if the parent grabs the child's arm very forcefully and pats the child's butt, what are you doing? The child maybe foolishly thinks, oh, mom and dad are so mean to me. But actually, when he gets older, he might realize, wow, mom and dad were protecting me. They were helping me. They were loving me. So when the Lord is a little rough on us, and he's giving us challenging situations, it's really the Lord pulling us out. You're about to go into oncoming traffic and get destroyed. You're going mad. What are you doing? But he'll pull us back and he'll chastise us a little bit by, maybe we'll lose some money, maybe we'll lose some opportunity, maybe we'll lose some relationship, maybe we'll lose this, that, and the other thing, our youth, anything, and next thing you know, we'll get recalibrated. So the Lord is always helping. So Maharaj Parikshit, he did not, he was a Narayan Parayan, someone who was always surrendered unto the Lord and accepting and in bliss. Whatever the Lord does, he knows it's good. This is a surrendered soul. So now, this verse says, furthermore, after leaving all his associates, the king surrendered himself as a disciple to the son of Vyas, Shukadev Goswami, and thus he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead. Purport. The word Ajita is significant here. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is known as Ajita, or unconquerable, and he is so in every respect. No one can know his actual position. He is unconquerable by knowledge also. We have heard about his dham, or place, eternal Goloka Vrindavan, but there are many scholars who interpret this abode in different ways. But by the grace of a spiritual master like Shukadev Goswami, unto whom the king gave himself up as a most humble disciple, one is able to understand the actual position of the Lord, his eternal abode, and his transcendental paraphernalia in that dham or abode. So very important that what he ended up doing is he surrendered himself unto a spiritual master, and he heard from these spiritually elevated personalities, Shukadev Goswami. And he knew exactly how to face this adversity, and he faced it with bliss. And instead of, you think you're having a bad day. Imagine someone told you, well, Sampat, you're going to die in 7 days. You'd be like, oh my God. Or a doctor tells you, you have terminal cancer. You have 1 month to live. Oh my God. Imagine.
Actually, in some ways, it'd be nice to get a warning and always get dialogue, so you
Yeah.
do some preparation.
Actually, it's said there's the pastime of Maharaj Katvanga. He served the demigods very sincerely, and the demigods asked for a boon, and they were trying to tempt him with all material desires because that's what they had. But Maharaj Katvanga was so great, he didn't want any material desires. So I can't use any of this for anything. And then he said, fine, if you want to give me one boon, the only valuable boon I can think of is, when should I die? When will I die? And so they checked it, and they said, oh, you have 1 muhurta, 48 minutes, you'll die. So, and why is this such a boon? If you know that you're going to die, you can actually prepare, and you can calibrate your consciousness for the next journey. So Maharaj Parikshit was very fortunate to have 7 days preparation. It's actually a great blessing and benediction. But we have no idea when we're going to die. We'll have no idea if we're going to be calibrated or not. And we'll get whatever our consciousness goes to, it'll just get thrown into that. I was hearing a story of a devotee. They were staying in Mayapur, the holy land of Lord Chaitanya. And they would swim in the Ganges time to time. But sometimes of the year, the monsoon season, the Ganga gets very strong. And it could take you away, actually. It's so strong. So this devotee, but people will still, he was swimming, but he got caught out a little and he couldn't get back in. So he saw another boat and he's flailing to them, but he didn't know if the boat saw him. And he's just swimming, and next thing he knows, he goes under. And he's about to, looks like he's going to drown and die. And as he's dying, he's watching, because when you're drowning, the air from your lungs starts to come out and bubbles start to arise. And as soon as the bubbles started to arise, he was like an English devotee. So he started thinking of a bubble commercial that he saw, like a laundry detergent commercial when he was a kid. Here he is ready to die, and his consciousness is on such mundane human things. And next, luckily, by good fortune, a hand reaches down and grabs his and pulls him up. The person in the boat saw him drowning and came over to him and saved him. But he was humbled by the realization that here I am at the time of death, and how prepared was I? I was thinking of mundane bubbles commercials. That's how tricky the mind is. So to expect that your mind at death, when your body's failing and everything's happening around you, that you're going to be, I'll just think of God then. It's utter madness. If you don't practice thinking of God, which is what we're doing now, if you don't learn how to always engage your consciousness in thinking of God, it's almost certain that you'll think of something material, because that's all you've ever done previously. It's habit at this point. So this is why it's every day we have to have a practice. So Maharaj Parikshit, he surrendered to a spiritual master, and he was able to understand the position of the Lord, his abode, and his transcendental paraphernalia in that dham, or abode. Knowing the transcendental position of the Lord and the transcendental method by which one can approach that transcendental dham, the king was confident about his ultimate destination, and by knowing this, he could leave aside everything material, even his own body, without any difficulty or attachment. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Param Drishtva Nivartate. It says Bhagavad Gita 959, but there is no 959 of the Bhagavad Gita, so I wonder where the actual verse is. But anyway, one can give up all connection with material attachment when one is able to see the param, or the superior quality of things. So he's saying in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, when one can give up all connection with material attachment when one is able to see the param, or the superior quality of things. So when you see the superior energy, or then only you can give up an inferior thing. So let's just say you like chips. Yeah. So let's just say Sampat eats Doritos, and he's not so, he's not so well versed on all of the poisons that the American companies are putting in all the Doritos, and doesn't know that it's causing his body great harm. But he likes chips, and so he's eating Doritos. So then all of a sudden, though, one day, Madhav makes these homemade chips, and they're so good, and he roasts the potatoes and bakes them in homemade. He finely slices the potatoes, and he seasons them perfectly in all the butter and delicious goodness. And then Sampat eats these chips, and he's just like, oh my God, these are the best chips I've ever had. So then Sampat starts saying, hey Madhav, when are you gonna make those chips again? And Madhav's saying, oh, give me some time. And so the Sampat starts getting in a habit in eating those chips. So then Sampat goes back to the crappy Doritos at some point. These aren't as good anymore. He used to love the Doritos, but now he's used to Madhav's chips. He doesn't want those crappy Doritos anymore. Madhav made the homemade, the really good stuff. So similarly, when we realize this param, this superior spiritual pleasure that exists, the superior quality of things, when we go back to material activities, they just seem so bland and boring and useless. So this is why we're trying to engage everyone. Spiritual activity, but only, they just have to come and taste it. They have to just come and hear. And if the actual spiritual potency is flowing, they'll feel it. They'll feel, wow, this is beneficial for me. But if we never give it a chance, if Sampad would say, I don't want to try your chips, Madhav. I have my Doritos. But Madhav says, please, it's really good. Just give it a try. I don't care for it. I have Doritos. Okay, then we have to let Sampad go with his chips. No problem. But we, many people, they don't want to try. We're always on the street trying. Come on, no, just give it a try. But anyway, once you realize the param, or superior quality of things, only then you can give up the lower things. So that's when Shukadeva Goswami, he completely enlightened Maharaj Parikshit. Instead of seeing all of his material tribulations as a curse, he was able to see it as a blessing. And he was able to give up the inferior things. So this is what we have to hopefully do, is come in contact with something wholesome and spiritual where it becomes very easy to give up. So now, where are we? From Bhagavad Gita, we understand the quality of the Lord's energy that is superior to the material quality of energy. And by the grace of a bona fide spiritual master like Shukadeva Goswami, it is quite possible to know everything of the superior energy of the Lord, by which the Lord manifests his eternal name, quality, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. So this is, I'm learning about this. It's only by the grace of a potent spiritual personality that can actually reveal the Lord to us. And the Lord is actually present always in his name, his form, even the deity form, his qualities, or even in his scriptures, just hearing him, his advice. The Lord is actually fully present there. We chant in the Shikshastakam, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. Nija Sarva Shaktis are all of the Lord's personal potencies. So meaning, we hear the pastime of how near Shringadev, he took the great demon Hiranyakashipu and he ripped open his chest and completely obliterated him. Actually, but the understanding is in the name Nrsimha alone, a great demons can be ripped apart. That's what it means, that all his personal potency is in that name. So the wise, the intelligent devotee of the Lord, they'll realize, if they like to hear about Krishna, they'll actually realize that in the Lord's name, he's fully personally present. And then they can actually develop a relish for this name. But in the beginning, we don't have such faith. In the beginning, we say, oh, you know what, maybe, I don't know. But the more we actually hear the conclusions of the Vedic scriptures and the Lord, at the end of it all, That's why Prabhupada lists it first, his eternal name. His name is the first thing listed because in just the utterance of the Lord's name, he's fully present. And the devotee, the advanced devotee, in their bhajan, just by uttering the name of the Lord, they can actually experience the Lord, see the Lord, be engaged in the Lord's pastimes within the consciousness. It's such a far out revelation, so far beyond what we are. But we are in the practice stage where we're just trying to understand the Lord. We're just trying to understand the conclusions of the Lord, trying to understand some of this higher knowledge. But then eventually this is what can happen. Just by uttering the name of God, you can actually experience God in his fullness, in full pleasure and potency. And now what's to speak of needing any money, needing any this? Everything. God contains everything. So only though through the bona fide spiritual master, one who's connected to the Lord, he actually gives the Lord. That's actually our job here when we preach to somebody. Whatever bit of the Lord that we've been imparted through the great spiritual personalities, we're just trying to share that. That's like that's what Harikatha is. That's what coming up and speaking. I'm just trying to, whatever I've been imparted by my spiritual teachers, I'm just trying to share that. That's what kirtan means. It means to share or glorify.
That's the definition of guru.
Yeah.
Unadulterated dispensing of the knowledge.
Yes, and it means guru also can mean one who's heavy, so they'll chastise. The guru will chastise, and then also guru means ignorance, and ru means eradicate. They eradicate ignorance from the living entity. So it's so important that we find a guru. But it's also important, there's 3 tiers of guru. Like here we're called Vartma Pradarshika Gurus. Any initiated devotee. Like Parth is like a Vartma Pradarshika Guru to you actually, because he told you, come Sampat, you'll make a lot of benefit here. You come, and he was showing you something that benefited him. So we're actually all called to be Vartma Pradarshika Gurus for someone who shows people the path. Even though you might not be so advanced, you at least know that you've been helped significantly, and you can try to guide someone else towards to get helped. But then there's the one that's very necessary is what the Bhagavatam calls the Shiksha Guru, one who's giving potent instructions because they have deep realization. So the Bhagavatam is giving us, like Prabhupada is giving us so much Shiksha in his purports here. But to have a personal Shiksha Guru is essential. Someone who's advanced and realized. And then you can actually realize higher things. That's the only way you can understand higher things. Even if, say, the sink, I've had this before, I've had plumbing problems. And if I get under the sink with no knowledge of plumbing, I'm doing this and that, and I'm having all kinds of problems. But when somebody who knows how to fix the plumbing, he just shows me how easy it is, and just do this, this, and this, I'm like, wow, I could have done that. But I never would have gotten that higher realization unless I watched him. He showed me personally. So similarly, someone who, if you want to experience God, if you want to realize God, if you want to experience higher spiritual pleasure, you act just like you want to learn plumbing. Someone has to come and show you how to experience that, to reveal that to you, and then you can do it yourself. But so it's very important. We need a guru. So Maharaj Parikshit, his curse was really quite the blessing, because he was able to sit for 7 days straight, fasted, and just fully hear the nectar from one of the most potent gurus of Shukadev Goswami on the planet at the time. So by that person, you can learn by which this everything of the superior energy of the Lord, by which the Lord manifests his eternal name. The guru actually carries the Lord. He's the one, he'll show you how to manifest, how the Lord manifests his eternal name, his quality, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. Unless one thoroughly understands the superior eternal energy of the Lord, it is not possible to leave the material energy. However, one may theoretically speculate on the true nature of the absolute truth. So, this is very important. So unless you come to a thorough understanding of revelation, you'll never be able to leave the material energy. It's not like, I'll just do good in this life, and then at the end, I'll leave. It's not that. You'll never leave unless you have thorough understanding and you yourself give it up. You yourself are not interested in it anymore. So if you leave this world with material attachments, you're coming back. So this is Prabhupada's understanding. So we have to thoroughly use our time to try to understand the superior eternal energy of the Lord. And just like if you were to taste Madhav's homemade chips, you'd give up crappy Doritos. So similarly, I grew up Italian, and I always use this example. When my mom we had homemade pasta, it was good stuff. So she forced me to give up all the canned stuff. You're not getting SpaghettiOs, you're not getting the crap they sell at the store. We have homemade good stuff. Just like the Indian Matajis at home. They'll never let you get store-bought rotis. What are you talking about? We'll roll it ourselves and we'll make the rotis ourselves. You do rotis in South India, does rice or roti? Yeah, yes. In the north they do roti, but similar. In the south, you never get like a frozen dosa. You never go to the store and get some frozen dosa. No, you make it yourself, right? So similarly, when you can't give up this material world until you have a thorough understanding and revelation of the superior world. So it's very important that we have a guru who shows us that. Just like it's you guys make good chila and dosa, So, but unless probably your mothers showed you how to make chila and dosa, then you can't experience chila and dosa. So your mother is a guru in that sense. So similarly, if you want to actually experience spiritual pleasure, it's only going to happen through one who's already tasting. There's someone who already has that. And you'll never be able to give up the lower thing unless you thoroughly understand the higher thing through revelation. So, and no matter how much you theoretically speculate on the true nature of the Absolute, you can even read all the books, Prabhupada's saying, but if it's just theoretical speculation, like for instance, you can theoretically speculate on how good dosas are, but unless you taste the dosa, what's the good of your speculation? I speculate that Sampat makes really, really good chilas, but I actually have no idea how good Sampat's chilas are because I actually haven't tasted one of his chilas yet. So I have no idea. I can speculate, well, the butter smells good, this smells good. But, until I taste it, I'll never actually know. So like this. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Maharaj Parikshit was able to receive the mercy of such a personality as Shukadev Goswami, and thus he was able to know the actual position of the unconquerable Lord, which means Ajita. It is very difficult to find the Lord from the Vedic literatures, but it is very easy to know him by the mercy of a liberated devotee like Shukadev Goswami. So you can study the Vedas all you want, and the Lord is the ultimate conclusion of the Vedas. And even the ultimate conclusion of that is the chanting of the Lord's name being the topmost process. But unless you meet the personality who's liberated and already experiencing the pleasure, it's very difficult to find the Lord, even in all that study. You have to meet a personality who's already experiencing. So this should be our goal, actually. This should be the devotee's goal, to find a liberated devotee like Shukadev Goswami. So this is what Prabhupada wants from us, to have a mature realization. Even though everything's in his books, and Prabhupada himself, by the mercy of a liberated devotee who's personally dealing with you and guiding you and engaging with you like Shukadev Goswami, it's very difficult to find the Lord. So this is very important. But luckily, Prabhupada left such his merciful instructions in these books, and we can know these things. Imagine he didn't leave. So, let's read last verse here. Notama shloka vartanam jushatang tat kathamritam syatsam brahmonta kalepi smaratang tat padambujam. Never. Uttama shloka, the personality of Godhead of whom the Vedic hymns sing. Vartanam, of those who live on them. Jushatam, of those who are engaged in. Tat, his. Kathamritam, transcendental topics about him. It's very nice. Shat, it so happens. Sambrahma, misconception. Anta, at the end. Kale, in time. Api, also. Smaratam, remembering. Tat, his. Pada ambujam, lotus feet. Translation. This was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics, this verse Krishna put this verse here for you. Sampa. So this was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, do not run risk of having misconceptions, even at the last moment of their lives. This is very nice. Purport. The highest perfection of life is attained by remembering the transcendental nature of the Lord at the last moment of one's life. This perfection of life is made possible by one who has learned the actual transcendental nature of the Lord from the Vedic hymns sung by a liberated soul like Shukadeva Goswami, or someone in that line of disciplic succession. Also pay attention to Prabhupada's words. He's saying sung. The perfection of life is made possible by one who has learned the actual transcendental nature of the Lord from the Vedic hymns sung by a liberated soul. So, we should find somebody who can sing these, who knows the shlokas, who's personally imparting to us this Shabda Brahma, or these spiritual sounds. Or someone in that line of disciplic succession. There is no gain in hearing the Vedic hymns from some mental speculator. When the same is heard from an actual self-realized soul and is properly understood by service and submission, everything becomes transparently clear. Thus, a submissive disciple is able to live transcendentally and continue to the end of life. By scientific adaptation, one is able to remember the Lord even at the end of life, when the power of remembrance is slackened due to derangement of bodily membranes. So normally the memory is slackened at the end of life. Maybe you have noticed, Craig, as you get advanced in age, or maybe the memory is not as sharp as it once was. I don't know. I guess you do very viscerally realize.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I know.
Now, based on that, though, is this similar to probably not good idea to listen to Krishna Das?
Yes.
Because he's not. Is it the same type of thing?
Yeah. Well, he's worse than a mental speculator. He's like.
But
yeah.
It's a similar.
Yeah.
Mentality. In other words, it's not the authoritative.
Yeah, it's not an authoritative source of spiritual potency. He's not, because in his consciousness, he's not really, even though he's chanting the name of Krishna, because in his consciousness he has what would be very offensive mentality. He eats meat, he does so many things not recommended, and as he thinks he is God, that we're all God. It's
Which confuses me, because why isn't he? If he chants Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra, it doesn't go along with thinking that you're God to me.
Yeah, well, they take different meanings for it. They chant Hare Krishna thinking like, I'm merging with Hare and Krishna. I'm Hare. I'm proclaiming to the Lord our true nature. We're Hare and Krishna. But we chant Hare Krishna. We're approaching those divine personalities to be in service to them. So it's a different conception. But yeah, that's why you have to find someone who's very intimately connected to the Lord, and the Lord himself empowers. And he says in Bhagavad Gita how he spreads knowledge in disciplic succession. He explained the transcendental science to the sun god. The sun god explained it to Manu. Manu explained it to Ikshwaku, and Ikshwaku explained it. And then when the connection got lost, then the Lord himself personally comes again to reestablish the connection. So right now the connection's still alive, or the Lord himself would personally come to reestablish it. So we have to find that connection. And from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lineage, we wholeheartedly feel very viscerally that we found that connection. So, but the power of remembrance is slackened due to derangement of bodily membranes. For a common man, it is very difficult to remember things as they are at the time of death. But by the grace of the Lord, his bona fide devotees, the spiritual masters, and one can get this opportunity without difficulty. And it was done in the case of Maharaj Parikshit. There's so many examples. Like even George Harrison. When George Harrison, you know George Harrison? One of the Beatles? Yeah. So George Harrison of the Beatles, when he left this world, by good fortune, by the blessings of great devotees and his spiritual master Prabhupada, and he actually had the opportunity where people were chanting Hare Krishna at his deathbed. So even if his body was failing and he was going to forget, there's the devotees right there reminding him. And I heard of many, many things. Actually, our friend Mayapur Chandra's father, you met Mayapur Chandra? Yeah, not yet. Actually, he was in Rochester where we were going. He gave a program there because I guess they had some business up there. I thought that was very sweet. But his father was, when I first became a devotee, his father was one of the very seniors, elders of the temple. And so when, he encouraged me and things like this. But at some point, actually, it was really interesting. I was telling you one time I had some symptoms of devotees disapproving of my one relationship before my wife. But interestingly, he was one of the really, in his elderly state, he was someone I was like, oh my God. Anyway, I'll tell you that story personally and later. But Mayapur Chandra, when his father was passing away from this world, it was during the COVID time, and it was very, I don't know if you know how people were passing, but it was horrible. The family members couldn't even go and be with them, So and his sons are all devotees. But interestingly enough, because they were all doctors, they were able to link him up with another devotee doctor. And the devotee doctor was reminding him, of Krishna. And that's what they asked. Just please, remind him of Krishna. Please remind him of Krishna. And they're praying, they're crying, because they want their father to pass, thinking of God at that time. And they all, the devotee doctor, he was doing all time. He was trying to save his life, but ultimately he wasn't passing. But he kept telling him to keep chanting. And why am I forgetting his name? I think it's Advaita Prabhu. But he actually left his body in rigor mortis. He had no beads, but he was sitting there like this, just chanting on his fingers. And his body left him chanting. And he was able to remember the Lord. And was so fortunate. Everyone else was going to these doctors and they couldn't be with their families. No devotees could be around them. But still, Krishna found, because he was a great devotee, Krishna found a way to put him with the devotee doctor, and it was proof in the rigor mortis that he died chanting the names of God. And it's amazing, actually. Yeah. You see, at the end, his body froze like this. Rigor mortis, what that is? The body at death, it stiffens up, and the body goes cold, and then whatever position you're in at death, the body will stay stiff at there. And his position was holding his chanting beads, which is amazing, actually, because proof. The Krishna came to him at the time. Even in the midst of great difficulty in COVID, he had no devotees, no one reminding him, but he finds a devotee doctor and who encouraged him. And it was actually probably even more of a blessing that his children couldn't be there, because even though his children are great devotees, children are a great attachment to the material world. And so, for whatever reason, Krishna, just him, Advaita, and some kind of like a third-party observer, but who was a devotee, encouraging him devotionally, but he was able to fully probably focus, and he didn't have to think, well, what will my children think, or am I disturbing their mind, or anything. So it was actually... A whole devotee dynasty. What? Yeah, he has a whole devotee dynasty family, Mayapur Chandra and all their brothers, and even now all the kids, they're all great devotees, But, and that was proof to me when I saw how Advaita...
wanting Krishna to dispel all relations, all family, and all that.
Exactly.
So she could just focus on him.
And that's exactly what happened, and that's why they all went their separate ways. It's not like Kunti went with the Pandava brothers. And even though that's why when all the Pandavas were dropping in the Mahabharata and they're ascending the mountain, Yudhishthira and the rest, they kept going, and they weren't staying back for material attachments. So anyway, we're going to end there. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So thank you guys for joining. Sampath, I ended on a timely manner to encourage you so you can go out and you can work very hard today. But I hope you saw the value in this. We do this every day. We have an opportunity. That's all of our programs are based so that we can get Hari Katha. I would very much be very happy and I feel like you would benefit a lot if you got to hear these revelations every day. But anyway, I'll take whatever I can get. I'm going to hold you to at least 3 or 4 times a week, every other day. But anyway, thank you guys. Hare Krishna.
I have
And
a quick question.
yes.
Something I don't know if this comes from the Bible or not, but it said that act as if ye have faith and ye will be given faith. Is that from the Bible? Do you know?
I've heard that before, but I don't know much about it. Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It sounds like something.
It does sound, yeah, especially with the ye in there. But I don't know, and I would tell you if I knew something, but I don't. It would only be speculation.
Well, because I think in terms of it's like what we're doing here, like you said, we're practicing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So we're practicing like we have faith.
Yeah.
And we will eventually be given it.
Yeah, well, that's what the sadhana bhakti is. We're learning how, to do activities of faith, and then eventually, by the mercy of those who have the faith, we can make advancement and be given that faith and develop that faith. So as long as we follow, even once we recognize the great faith of other great saintly personalities and we follow in their example, then we can make a lot of example. We have to come past the stage of Aropa Siddha Bhakti, which is we're trying to impose Krishna on the world around us. But what we really want to do is have Sangha Siddha Bhakti, where we now recognize the bhakti in really a master or advanced devotees, and we follow in their footsteps and try to, instead of ourselves just trying to make the connection all on our own. So but we're there actually. We're on the cusp. We're inviting great spiritual personalities here, and some of us are having the realization that we want to associate with them because we know that they have a deeper connection, and we want that connection, and we see the value in having that connection rather than trying to deal with our own limited connection. So anyhow, very good though. I like that. Actives, if you have faith, and you can have it, and you will be given faith again. So.
You'll be able to Google it.
Yeah.
I had thought about it, but I want, because I know your background with your family and
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was something.
I have I have very surface level Bible background. I still have it, but it's just I don't study it regularly. But this now I'm like all in. Well, mostly in.
Actually, the first time I heard that it was in a movie by Paul Newman. It was called The Verdict. And it was.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it sound. I think I've heard it before, but
it was his summation in a court thing, and
So
he was saying that to the jury.
I see.